This is Spyderco K2 in CPM 10V. It's a collaboration between Spyderco and Ferret Mirror. It's a full titanium frame lock knife. It's really what this is made to be is a large, high performance slicer. This isn't your built like a tank titanium frame lock knife. This is really made for high performance cutting. The handle is almost seems awkward, almost seems like it isn't going to work out well in use, but in using it, in doing cutting with it, I haven't had a problem with it. I haven't found any hot spots. It seems to work well for me. The lock is something that's talked about quite a bit. It's difficult to work with. It's a very late lockup, and it's a very strong lock, but it does keep the blade off your fingers. I think that's probably the point of it. It feels very secure given the late lockup. Guys complain about having to operate it with their thumb. I usually use my index finger for it, and I don't have a problem with it that way. The steel that Spyderco used here, CPM 10V, is an ultra high carbide, ultra high wear resistant steel. As far as production knives go, production folders, 10V is kind of the top for edge holding and wear resistance. I mean, it even surpasses S90V. CPM S110V is very close to 10V, but 10V should even be ahead of that, although they are very close. 10V, you're talking 9.75% vanadium, very high carbon content. It's really a steel made for cutting soft abrasive materials, and it really excels in that. The other thing that's talked about with it is difficulty in sharpening. I haven't found difficulty sharpening a knife. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. And I've heard of people saying things like 10V just doesn't get that sharp. It doesn't take a high sharpness. I've had this knife for a while. I've brought it to hair splitting before using different sharpening techniques, mainly using the stones from the Spyderco Sharp Maker. This knife was sitting around ready to go. It was put away sharp. So in taking it out, I did cutting with it, and I worked on cardboard. The knife performs beautifully in cutting, given its size and the ergonomics. Again, it almost feels awkward. It almost feels like it's going to be a problem, but I haven't found it to be. I haven't found any hot spots. I haven't found any problem with it. It works good in a hammer grip. Works good in a saber grip. After I got done moving through the cardboard that I was going to cut, I had gotten most of the blade to the point where it would no longer shave hair. So I went ahead and resharpened it, and I wanted to do it. I mean, I've always sharpened it freehand, but I wanted to do it stone in hand and move through it fast. And I was betting that it wouldn't be that much of a problem. I hadn't sharpened it that way before. So I started on the DMT diafold sharpeners. As I moved through them, I didn't find this knife to be a problem. I didn't find it to be a problem bringing the knife up, apexing the knife from side to side. It didn't seem difficult at all. After the diafold sharpeners, I moved on to a ultra-fine Spyderco bench stone, and I worked with that stone in hand, and that too was fine. It wasn't problematic at all. After that, I moved on to strops, and I started with several strops using wood for the strops, and oil-based compound. I moved through those. I found this able to cut a free hanging hair at a 3 to 5 micron compound. I say 3 to 5 because this particular compound is listed as a 3. I've heard people talk about it being as high as a 5. And I've done side-by-side comparisons with other 5-micron compounds and found them to be ahead. So listed as a 3, but I think it's probably closer to a 5 or more. After that, I moved on to a 3.5 and then made my way down, stopping with those compounds at a 1.5. And I then moved on to leather strops using diamond sprays, starting with 1 micron. Moved through the 1 and moved down to a 1/4 micron, then a 0.05 micron, then a 0.025 micron. 0.025 micron is a little over 600,000 grit. After that, I took this knife even farther on a new leather strop I had made using a 0.005 micron, which is 3.2 million grit. So extremely fine, as fine as it gets. I don't know of anything else being made in the industry that will take it farther. The edge that came up was very sticky. It'll catch right into you. I like the way 10V sharpens, and the sharpness that came up on it almost wouldn't whittle hairs. I mean, I had to work to get it to whittle a hair. It would cut right through them, and when you get up past 1/4 micron on the strops, the knife almost doesn't want to whittle. It's almost too sharp for that. It'll bite in and kind of stretch them out and then toss the hair back all wound up. But it almost doesn't want to just stretch them out, whittling the hair. It's beyond that at that point. And I find this happening a lot. For the footage for videos where I'm doing it, splitting the hair, and it looks good and it looks impressive, you've really got to work for that. But like I said, that's because you've taken the edge beyond that. And that's exactly what I ran into here. But the steel sharpens up nice. I don't know why we're not seeing more models in it, and I wish that we would. Maybe something in a small slicer, closer to a Delica size. You know, very thin. A knife, again, a knife made for cutting the way that the Delica is. 10V it's low chromium content. So it's not a stainless steel, but I haven't found it to be a big problem either. And I'm not sure that the low chromium content doesn't play into part of what I see in sharpening. It seems to remind me of M4 a little bit, and steels like that. The high carbide steels with the low chromium content seem to, I'm not sure if I don't notice a pattern in them, in the edge that they take. You know, the steel not being overloaded with chromium. But the K2 it's a good knife. It's not your everyday, your normal carry knife. I mean, I've carried this every day. I know other people that have, but it is something different. But if you're looking for a high performance slicer in a large knife, with an ultra high wear resistant steel, then this is really something that you should look into.